So today we really need to talk about how to be specific with your manifestations. How can you be specific in a way that's actually going to get you results? And in what ways should you maybe not be specific? I'm really going to break all of that down for you today. And I'm also going to share a really cool success story with you today that's going to exemplify what I mean about how to be specific, maybe how not to be specific, and actually get results. You can tell right off the bat, this is a nuanced topic because there's even some controversy in the manifestation community about how specific should you be, and should you be more law of attraction-y where you're just like, whatever, just be in a high vibe and good things will happen, but you can't choose what good things, or law of assumption where you're being really, really specific. Obviously, I'm a law of assumption teacher, so I'm gonna encourage you to be specific, but again, I'm gonna explain to you, break it down exactly how I want you to be specific. So this is gonna be a juicy video today. I will start by introducing myself though, for any of you who do not know me yet. My name is Genevieve and I am a manifestation coach. I mainly focus on law of assumption, but I incorporate lots of different things that I feel can be very helpful to boosting your manifestation power. I try to give you a lot of tools and angles and perspectives to help you be just more effective all around. So if you like my style of coaching and teaching and sharing with you, there are lots of different ways. You can work deeper with me. You can join the membership portion of this channel. You can do private coaching. You can do courses. And that's honestly, if you're watching this right now, which obviously you are because now is happening right now, whenever you're watching it is now. So if you're watching right now, I would recommend doing a course just because the private coaching is a little bit booked up. And the courses will give you the structure of being specific that I'm going to talk about in this video. Or you don't have to do any of that. You can just keep watching these videos. I do ask that you give me a like and subscribe to this channel if you get a lot of value out of these videos. Just make sure to do that. Okay, let's get into this. I wanted to make this video today because something I see in people is often a fear of being too specific about their manifestation. And often that fear of being too specific is often coming from some sort of deficit in their self-concept, either a fear of being seen, a fear of receiving, a fear of being disappointed. Like maybe what if I get too specific and then it doesn't happen, I might be disappointed. So I should just not aim for the stars. I should just sort of keep the bar low because it'll be easier to reach the bar if I just keep it low and keep myself small. Honestly, most of the time, people that are resistant to being too specific or very specific about what they want, they are dealing with this limitation or fear within them that thinks that that's probably not likely, or they're afraid of getting it, or they feel unworthy, blah, blah, all of this limitation stuff. But what I have found is that often when you're not actually being specific enough in what you are experiencing within yourself, because remember, that's how we manifest. We experience something within ourselves. We give ourselves, through a myriad of different techniques, an experience that we really accept and surrender to, and that experience creates evidence in the 3D reality, and that is manifestation. So when you aren't being specific enough about the experience that you're giving yourself, the world often tends to be kind of at a standstill, or maybe doesn't manifest very much because you are actually being quite tepid about what it is you're manifesting. You're being a little wishy-washy. You're being a little bit hot and cold in your own being because you're too afraid maybe to accept what you really want, and then you're kind of like wavering and like, well, maybe if I just do this, or maybe if I just like lower the bar a little bit. Like, we can't do that. It's going to create wishy-washy results. And I have a cool success story that I want to share with you from a client of mine. So I'm going to share with you this story, and then once I give you the story, I'm going to go deeper in explaining how I want you to be specific and how I don't want you to be specific. And I think you'll probably pick up a lot of the nuances already just through hearing the story. So this particular client is one that I think I'd worked with a few times, maybe several times, before we kind of had her breakthrough moment, or I should say she had her breakthrough moment. And the first several sessions we had, she was really in that kind of total unworthiness in her self-concept, feeling very wishy-washy about if she could get what she wanted. And I'll just say her situation was she was manifesting an SP, and this particular SP was a man that she had known for many, many years. I think she had said they'd known each other like 20 years. They'd been like friends for a really long time. But she had obviously a desire for, you know, maybe that friendship to move more into a romantic situation. But she had a lot of unworthiness towards this particular man. So even though they were friends and he was really nice to her and very supportive of her, she felt very resistant to the idea that, yeah, she really could manifest a romantic relationship with this particular man. And so for most of the time before she kind of had her breakthrough with me, she had been being very, again, kind of like tepid and not very specific in her manifestation attempts towards him, if you want to call it attempts. And by that, I mean she was doing like meditations where she was connecting with him, or she was doing like heart meditations, or she was even doing affirming, but I think the affirmations were kind of vague. They also weren't really addressing her situation, her circumstances, her next steps, because as a lot of you might know, I'm the kind of coach that I really want you to make things specific about you. This is part of what this video is about, is actually make what you're saying make sense for your life and your circumstance, and make it make sense in steps where, especially if you have a lot of resistance to your end. So let's say if you were like her and your end is that you want to have a, you know, committed relationship or marriage to this man, but like your current life feels so far from that. Take just like appropriate steps that make sense to you to get there and be specific. So as I'm saying, she had not been that specific. She was being kind of vague. And also I'll say too, because this is also something I see so often in you guys, where you will be doing meditations or subliminals or affirmations or whatever, but it's like you do that technique and then your mental diet for the rest of the day like totally fucking sucks. And so it just sort of cancels it out. And that's why we do put some emphasis on mental diet when it comes to manifesting, because it's your state of being that manifests. And if your mental diet for most of the day is just automatically right back to taking seriously all your old thoughts, well, then that kind of cancels out anything that you did in the meditation or whatever. So that's also something that she was doing that we kind of got a handle on. But the main focus here is that she just wasn't allowing herself to really claim deeply and be specific about what she really, really wanted, and that she could have it. And again, being specific about maybe what the next step of that would look like. So in whatever call this was, it was maybe our 4th or 5th call where she finally had her breakthrough, and she was ready. She was ready to finally do these specific affirmations. And by ready, I mean she was no longer like so resistant to them. Because this is also why sometimes I tell you guys, you might not even be at the step you need to be at to be specific. I hope this doesn't confuse you, but some of you, when you're such a low self-concept, you really need to focus on that first before I would recommend that you do specific affirmations about another person or anything. Because if your self-concept is still so unworthy and like so low, it's gonna be difficult for you to really be ready to fully accept the affirmations, because your self-concept can't even consider those affirmations. So anyway, so that's just like, put that to the side in case you might be in that camp. This is also why doing private coaching can be great, because a good coach can help you to see, okay, this is what you need to do right now. Like, you're at a stage where maybe you need to be specific about your self-concept first. Then when you really start to feel strong and like powerful in that, then it's going to be way easy and you'll be ready to do the next step and be specific about the next thing. So we're all about being specific in the right way. So anyway, that was just a little sidetrack. That was an important sidetrack though. But anyway, so she had this breakthrough where she was like, okay, I get it. All I have to do is just give it to myself. I can give it to myself. I'm going to say these affirmations and give it to myself. Like, when I say them, I'm acknowledging that this is just true right now. I'm not saying the affirmations to get it sometime in the future. I'm not in my ego, in my overthinking mind, trying to figure out, well, is it possible that could happen? That seems so unlikely. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going to take these affirmations and just decide, yep, when I say these affirmations, I'm accepting that they are done. They're not happening in the future. I'm not thinking about the 3D. It's just that, like, I know I'm having the experience of the doneness now because I've said it, and boom, manifesting. So she did that. I forgot the exact specific affirmations I gave her. I think I gave her 3, but they were specific about her situation. So she took whatever I gave her at that time. I know at least one was definitely about communication. Anyway, she came back to me, I think 3 weeks later, and told me that he was behaving so differently towards her, of course. And remember, this is a relationship, like she'd been in this friendship with this man for like 20 years or something, like a long time. Like they had a pretty solid dynamic that was always friendship. It was always like this way, whatever way it had been, for like 20 years. And then all of a sudden, when she finally allowed herself to decide, you know what, I am worthy of having the experience that I want to have in my dynamic to this man. So I'm going to give it to myself right now in a very specific way about what I'm experiencing next in this dynamic, in this relationship. And she was just doing it. We're just doing it. I don't care what other people say. I don't care if there's comments on YouTube that say you can't manifest specific people. We're done with all that. She was finally like, I am just going to give it to myself that this is the experience that I'm having with this man. She did that. I talked to her 3 weeks later, and he was apparently, so okay, part of their thing was that he lived like a few hours drive from her, and he had never offered to come visit her before. I think she had kind of been the one that would sometimes go visit him, but like he had never ever made time or even offered that he would like drive down to her and like see her. So all of a sudden he's like really all about that. Like he's offering like, hey, I could drive down there and maybe I could spend the weekend with you. I could take you out to dinner or something. Like he's suddenly offering all of this stuff that in 20 years of friendship he had never ever done before. Why? Because she manifested it, because she was being specific about, this is how I experience this man. I don't care about the 3D. I'm choosing that this is my experience. I'm putting my own power of experience before what the 3D is doing. And because the 3D has no power and it's just an after shadow that follows you, of course, then the 3D gives you some, again, quote unquote, evidence of what you've been experiencing within yourself. And that's what happened to her. It was like crazy. Even she was like, whoa, I can't believe this, because he's saying things he's never said. He's being way more flirtatious. He's like finally the one kind of opening up to me. Again, he's like offering to drive down. It's just amazing stuff when it happens. And it's fine to enjoy it. It's totally fine to enjoy it when the 3D does give you that evidence, especially when it's like a big, big change. After a long-standing pattern of how it used to be, it is exciting when it changes. But here's the part where I want to talk about and clarify even more what I mean about how to be specific. So as I told you in that story, I had her be very specific about the experience she was having of him. It's never ever about forcing someone to change or forcing a circumstance in the 3D. I know so many of you often approach manifestation from that mindset of like, oh, this is all about me forcing them or forcing the 3D to do something for me. And it's like, no, we are not being specific about, oh, my ego thinks that this circumstance needs to happen next, so I'm going to be specific about forcing that circumstance to be different. That's resistance. That's not the kind of specificity I mean. I am talking about be specific about what is your inner experience of what is happening now. And by now, I mean like now. There's no future, there's no past. When we're manifesting, we're living in the world of timelessness. We're not in 3D time. Time is just a 3D construct. So nothing we're saying to ourselves is about, oh, if I say this to myself, it'll happen in the future. No, that's not it. You're being specific about the experience that you are having. And for some of you, you're going to be specific about the experience you're having of a person right now. For some of you, you're being specific about a job or about your experience in school or about your family life or your social life, whatever, because manifestations are obviously happening at every level, at all kinds of ways and places. So you're just being specific about how are you choosing in a specific way that makes sense to you, how are you choosing to experience this thing right now? As the operant power, you do not need to experience things the way you've always in the past. This is part of what it means to like wake up to yourself as the operant power. Just because you have always related to the experience of like, oh, I'm never chosen, or oh, things never work out for me, or oh, I'm always poor, I'm always sick. Just because you have chosen in the past to keep relating to those things in that way, you are the operant power. You can just choose on a dime right now, because now is all there is. Right now, choose actually, I relate to it like this now. I've just decided I'm that powerful. I can that easily shift. It's not an effort thing at all. I can just that easily shift by just deciding that, oh, this is how I experience this dynamic now. And you can be very specific. Like, you can say, I'm experiencing it as he is being flirtatious with me, or I'm experiencing it as like they at work, they love me so much and they're going to give me a promotion. Like, whatever it is that is specific and makes sense to you about what you want to experience next, you have to acknowledge that you're already having that experience right now. And then boom, as you know, that is what then manifests evidence. But again, it's kind of like dead evidence. It's after the fact. You've already had the experience, that specific experience, because you gave it to yourself and the 3D proved it to you. And this happens, as you know, for both negative things and positive things. That's why a lot of you tend to think, oh, I'm a really bad manifester, when really you're not. You're actually probably a very powerful manifester, but you're just very used to giving yourself negative experiences. And so you just keep reaffirming negative experiences, and then you get more evidence of negative experiences. So it's a neutral power. It has to prove to you whatever you're experiencing internally, like whatever you're giving yourself, whatever you're perceiving within yourself, reality has to give you a match to that. So you're actually a very good manifester. Even if you're manifesting a lot of negative things, you're still a great manifester. It's just that you haven't chosen. You haven't decided to just be like, you know what, I'm done with that. Let's step into, I'm gonna have a different experience of this thing. And it's completely not even related to the 3D. It's just because I'm so powerful, when I give myself this new experience, it happens. So this is what I mean about being specific. Like, how worthy can you be to know within yourself that like whatever bar you've set is the bar. Whatever experience you are giving to yourself is the exact experience that you will have in the 3D. So really allow yourself to go for the stars. If you notice a limiting belief coming up of like, oh, well, maybe I could have this thing, but like, oh, that's too much, that's crazy. That's just you. That's just you deciding that. You're the only one making the bar, making the benchmark of what's possible and what's not. Anything is possible. That's also what's so crazy about just life on Earth, is like we are constantly growing and new crazy things are manifesting, and anything really is possible. New things are happening every day that we're like, whoa, I didn't even know that was going to happen, or that was even possible. But because we're growing in consciousness, we are manifesting crazy, interesting things. And again, it's up to you, the level at which you decide you're going to experience reality, and the level at which you're going to accept and allow yourself to receive from reality. Never feel ashamed about what you are desiring, because if you're feeling ashamed about what you're desiring, that says to me that you have internalized other people's judgment about what's possible for you and what's not. Probably going back all the way to childhood, where you learned probably really early on that like, oh, certain things are only possible and some things are not possible for you, and blah, blah, blah. So do not feel shame about your desire. Do address it specifically, but again, in appropriate steps. I think for some of you, it will cause too much resistance if you try to go from being completely impoverished to a billionaire overnight. That's specific, but that might be too big of a jump too soon. Instead, really experience the steps of getting there. The end is still the end. It's still very much happening, but you're almost embracing in a more non-resistant way. Okay, here's what I'm experiencing next. And oh my gosh, here's what I'm experiencing next. And you're being specific about that, but you're not being specific in that way I said before about like trying to control the 3D of like, okay, well now I think he should do this next, so I'm going to affirm that he does this next. And it's like very externally focused. It's not so much about, well, what experience am I having of this right now? Instead, it's more about like, how do I make it happen so that then maybe I'll feel good after? And as you know, so I probably said it a million times, a million different ways, that really doesn't manifest well. So you're open to however the 3D is going to mysteriously reflect things back to you. And it shouldn't matter to you, because again, remember, it's about, you've already given yourself the experience. You've already been like, boom, it is done. I have just experienced this. I affirmed it and I experienced it. It is done. It's an end in itself. So because you already have it, because you already gave it to yourself, there's a natural detachment to the 3D as the after effect of that, because you're no longer like, oh, but it didn't really happen because it only happened in 3D and I need to make it happen. It's like, that's not happening anymore, because real havingness causes a natural detachment to the 3D. And then the 3D has so much room to give you your new reflection in a lot of interesting ways. Okay, I think this was good for today. Please let me know your thoughts or your questions down in the comments below. I just really don't want any of you to put a limit on yourself, because you have no idea what you're capable of. Like, your power is so great. You have no idea the things you're going to manifest in the next 10 years or even the next year, the amount of amazingness you can bring in quite quickly when you finally just switch to, like, I've just decided that everything is fulfillment. I'm just decided everything is fulfillment now. And there are no limitations. I'm open to, like, how big and how specific can I get about what I'm experiencing? And there's no shame about whatever you want to experience, unless it's directly harmful to other people. That's just the one thing that's a me thing. I don't ever want people to be trying to use manifesting to hurt others, or like actually like anything that hurts anyone else. It's not a good intention, because it's only going to hurt you. This is just a total side note, but like, it really is whatever you put out there, you get back, obviously. So if you're putting evil or true hurt intentions out there, obviously that's only going to like keep hurting you. So anyway, that's a little caveat. So that is it for today. Thank you again for watching this video. Again, if you got value out of this, please like this video, watch the other videos, subscribe to my channel. Again, there's lots of ways to work with me and links down below. So let me know all your thoughts, and I will see you guys in my next video. All right, bye.